a friendly piece of advice. Assume that I know everything.
To me, acting is playing. It's being a child again, it's being a kid again.
Would you like to sign a petition to boycott Sal's famous pizzeria?
With every character I play, psychologically, I give myself an assignment. What is it that I want to work on inside of me in playing this character?
I see your bond with him.
This show was a gift.
You are not God. You are simply bad product.
Our opportunity to tell our own story is important.
A man provides for his family.
What about this great big? What can I garner from it? And how can I become, in my regular life, more real, authentic, true, compassionate, and honest about who I am? That's the hardest thing for, I think, all of us.
I got him. I got him, and he's not going anywhere.
Bring me the child.
Yes.
Bring me that child.
Hello and welcome to Cinema Therapy. I am Alan Seawright, a professional filmmaker who needs so much therapy.
And I'm Jonathan Decker, licensed therapist who loves movies. And joining us today,
I'm Giancarlo Esposito, and this is Cinema Therapy.
We couldn't be happier to have you here, Giancarlo. This is so awesome. And let's just dive right in and start talking about the psychology of an actor, because you have played so many psychologically diverse and interesting and fascinating roles.
I'm so grateful.
I assume there's just an awful lot of you in Gus Fring.
Yeah. There is. I think there's a lot of me in every character I play, to be honest with you, because we don't remain the same.
For sure.
In our time here. You know, we change, and with every character I play, psychologically, I give myself an assignment. Like, what is it that I want to work on inside of me in playing this character?
Yeah.
What am I working on in this character? And because I don't seem to have great luck with therapists, they either fire me or I fire them. Or in previous years, I got too close to the bone and then would run away. You know, I'm the runner. So I acknowledge all of those things and recognize them because I've been astute. And so that's why I started the assignment list. The assignment list was to be able to acknowledge what I'm working through and know it, right? If you can know it, then you can figure it out. And I think, many times you need a guide. And so it's just about that time for me once again to find yet another therapist who will fail me. Maybe John won't. But, you have to keep trying. Our opportunity to tell our own story is important.
Yeah.
So then I started to go, okay, what about this great, the big dig? What can I garner from it? And how can I become, in my regular life, more real, authentic, true, compassionate, and honest about who I am? That's the hardest thing for, I think, all of us.
Yeah. This episode is sponsored by AG1. AG1 is a foundational nutrition supplement that supports whole body health. It's got 75, that's a lot, vitamins, minerals, and whole food sourced ingredients. Drinking AG1 increases my intake of vitamins, minerals, and antioxidants, because you know how I hate oxidants. Oxidants are the worst. And it's an easy part of my morning routine. All you have to do is scoop, shake, and drink. Honestly, I don't know how else to explain this. It's a good flavor, but it tastes like healthy. What does healthy taste like? AG1 helps me replenish my daily micronutrients, especially on workout days, which is every day, am I right, people? Gains. And it supports my immunity. And drinking AG1 in the morning improves my focus and energy throughout the day. I know this because on mornings that I drink AG1, I am productive. And on mornings that I don't, I have ADHD. I can't make a claim that AG1 cures ADHD, but I can make the claim that AG1 tastes real good, and I do, it helps me focus.
Perfect.
And of course, the most important, it supports strong, healthy nails and hair. So really, these luscious locks are brought to you by AG1. The AG1 team works really hard to ensure that AG1 is the best that it can be. They source the best and highest quality ingredients they can find, and every batch is NSF certified for sport, which ensures you're getting exactly what it says on the label. And their facilities are TGA registered. Go to drinkag1.com/cine or scan the QR code to get your free welcome kit, which includes a canister, a shaker, a year's supply of vitamin D3K2, and 5 free travel packets. That's 4 more travel packets than you would get if they only gave you 1. Thanks to AG1 for sponsoring today's video. And my increasing insanity.
Oh, you hanging out with baby sis.
Look, bugging out. We're not hanging out. She's escorting me back to Sal's.
Lying? That's not even true. I'm just going to get a slice.
A slice? Yo, Jade, you can't do that, not today. Look, you don't know this, but I'm organizing a boycott of South Spain.
Yeah.
Why? What do you do?
You know them pictures he
I
got
love
hanging
the
up.
energy that you brought to this character. He's so physically, like he's constantly moving and like almost itchy.
You know, you're wasting my time. You just leave that shit alone. You should. You really should.
Hey, yo, move.
I'm gone.
I'll see you there.
Stay black.
Love this. Stay black.
Bugging out. How you been?
How I been? Every single one of them pictures is somebody Italian.
And?
And we want some black people up.
So did you ask Sal?
Yeah, I asked him. We don't want nobody in there. Nobody spending good money in South. Until we get some black motherfuckers on that wall.
Bugging out. What good is that going to do, huh? You know, if you really tried hard, Bugging out, you could direct your energies in a more useful way, you know?
Jade, you got to be down. What you ain't down?
Yeah, Bugging out. I'm down. But I'm down for something positive in the community. Are you down for that?
Jade.
Jade.
Jade, I still love you, man.
Yeah. I still love you too, Bugging out. I'll see you later.
Such a great name. Bugging out.
Wow,
Okay.
take me back. I love it. This character is just someone I really enjoyed putting together because I felt like I had seen so many bugging outs on the street or wannabe bugging outs. You know, a guy who's demonstrative about trying to change the face of the neighborhood, but who's caught up in that gentrification that's changing his neighborhood to something he doesn't recognize.
Right.
This film was a labor of love for Spike, and I'm just so proud to have been in it. Yeah, I bring a lot of energy to these characters, and I felt like with this role, I was reading, you know, Martin Luther King, I was reading Malcolm X, I was really trying to educate myself in a deeper way to be able to use pieces of those as inspiration for Bugging Out. But again, he had a little taste, and that taste, he just takes it to the nth degree, really propels him to want to push this pizzeria out of the neighborhood. But I think the message of this movie was so very important, and it still holds up today. I saw it a few years ago in Holland, a film cut of it, and my mouth dropped at how important it was. There were a lot of things going on in New York. It was the hottest summer ever. Tawana Brawley was going on, and Al Sharpton was protesting. All this heightened tension in New York City, and Spike really took advantage of it and made somewhat of a great movie. I remember him saying to me, Giancarlo, they're telling me they're going to be riots in the streets. There's going to be riots in the streets. People, you know, and he really, you know, that's what was on the cover, I think, of the Daily News or the New York Post. So it made everyone nervous that there was someone who was going to directly speak the truth about what is really going on underneath the surface.
Giancarlo, I've heard you talk about Bugging Out as somebody who loves his community and wants to make a difference, but he lacks the resources, the know-how, the education, the opportunity, the finances, the connections to make it happen. What do you think the movie is saying to people in that situation?
I have said that, and and that's how I felt doing it. I wanted to get a thread of knowledge that would propel me into action, but not having the education, you know, and I equated it back to me once again. I have a 2-year associate's degree where I yearned for a 4-year degree and then maybe even grad school, maybe even a doctorate. I didn't get that far. And I had to get that knowledge I needed to learn. I had to find out for myself, which means I had to have patience and seek it out.
Right.
And so I think what it's saying is, and I know Spike is firmly behind getting educated as to all the facts and then going and using that strength to speak out against an injustice. He does it in his life, and it's one of the things I respect greatly about him, is that he stands on the front line. So he's not only a filmmaker, but he's someone who really speaks out against young black men being killed by the police, which has been an ongoing thing for many years. I think it says, you know, do what's right, do what's righteous. I believe that we as human beings are falling asleep and not really waking up.
Wake up! Wake up, wake up, wake up! Up you wake, up you wake, up you wake, up you wake!
So I think do the right thing is a great example for the taking accountability and standing up for what is. And sadly, you know, Bugging Out didn't have a college education to go and maybe do it the right way, whereas look where Al Sharpton has come to. he
Right.
did. It empowers people to be, truthful, honest, and accountable. And that being accountable means saying something.
Do you mind? What would you slice the garlic? Very thin.
The tension in this scene, it's all right underneath.
Why did you invite me here?
We're working together. Why not break bread together? Now, the garlic.
The mistrust.
The question I have for you was, were you playing arrogance, confidence in handing him the knife, point at yourself?
I gotta say, I was playing confidence.
Okay.
He's not at all worried that Gus will use that knife against him.
These alone don't remind me of anything. I mean, not very much at all. But in this precise combination, the smell of this meal, instantly, it brings you back to my childhood. How is that possible?
Basically, it all takes place in the hippocampus. Neural connections are formed. The senses make the neurons express signals that go right back to the same part of the brain as before.
One man is wonder, one is factual.
It's something called relational memory. Don't quote me on that. I'm rusty on my biology.
That's very interesting. Walter, I would like to help you if I could.
Help me how?
Well, when I first started out, I made a lot of mistakes. More than I care to admit. I wish I had someone to advise me. Because this life of ours, it can overwhelm. You are a wealthy man now. And one must learn to be rich. To be poor, anyone can manage.
The writing staff on Breaking Bad is so good. But I'm always fascinated by the choices you made while playing Gustavo Fring. You inhabited that character for 3 seasons. What was your process with that?
I felt like I was inspired in episode 1 by a stage direction that Vince Gilligan wrote, Hiding in Plain Sight. I expanded that. I really was curious when I looked out of my door and looked at the neighbor who was pulling those big garbage cans out to the curb on a Wednesday morning and what they really did. You say, hi, Phil. You think you know each other,
Sure.
But you don't really know what that person does. So I used that stage direction, Hiding in Plain Sight, to inspire me. And then I started to do things that felt natural. What I began to realize is that I was really inspired by the writing, and my job was to inspire the writers to be inspired by my performance.
Psychologically, he's fascinating because he is in large part a sociopath. He's manipulative, he's conniving. In many instances, he's devoid of empathy. There's some psychopathic tendencies there as well, where he enjoys the pain of other people. And yet, he does care. There are people he cares about. And his home is so lovely and warm and inviting. There's these contrasts to this character where he's so fascinating.
In this particular clip that you showed is so important to me because what started to happen were lines like, "You're a rich man now. One must learn to be rich. To be poor, anyone can manage," is a Post-it in my closet as I go into my bathroom that my daughter copied and put on the wall because she knows where I come from.
Yeah.
And it was almost a reflection of when the line was written and I said it, I started to realize that was, for me, a way to manifest prosperity in my own life. And so that Post-it is still there. And I look at that every single day. Equally so, the "a man provides" speech. I have 4 daughters. I'm formally married. And so that created a situation where I had 2 households and many children to raise with, a partner, their mother from afar. But I'm the provider.
A man provides for his family.
And I've always felt that way because my family of origin and my mother, I took care of for 40 years while she was ill and not really stable in her brain until she passed away. I've always felt like the provider. So those things meant something to me. So I could use those as Gustavo Fring and really allow them to affect me. And in this particular clip you showed, Gus hands him a knife and turns his back on him, and the filmmakers did an incredible thing. They literally have Walter's face looking at himself in the knife, and he's more nervous than anything, and I'm really trying to disarm him and cook for him and be nice, and he's afraid. You juxtapose that kindness and confidence and ease and relaxed persona to the guy who has that box cutter in 401.
Yeah.
It's a completely, so those kind of switches I think are interesting. I'm not black or white, light or dark. I'm somewhere in the middle, somewhere in the gray zone. Oh yeah.
It's, again, I was looking for scenes because so many of these characters you play for so long and there's so much. I was looking for ones that are kind of a summation of the entire character in one scene.
I love this one. He's got him right where he wants.
Very nice.
Give me the kid.
The kid is just fine where he is.
No.
Mesmerizing, isn't it? Used to belong to Bo-Katan. Yes, I know you've been traveling with Bo-Katan. A friendly piece of advice. Assume that I know everything. Like the fact that your missile launcher has fired its one and only salvo.
Where is this going?
This is where it's going. I'm guessing that Bo-Katan and her boarding party have arrived at the bridge, seeking me, or, more accurately, this.
That thing is so badass.
But I'm not there. And I imagine that they've killed everyone on the bridge, being the murderous savages that they are.
Damn.
And now, they're beginning to panic.
That was the moment for me where Moff Gideon became a completely three-dimensional character, was like, oh, he thinks he's right. They're murderous savages. He's the one bringing order.
Whoever wields this sword
That's right.
has the right to lay claim to the Mandalorian throne.
I watched Clone Wars, so I know that's true.
I just want the kid.
Very well. I've already got what I want from him. His blood. All I wanted was to study his blood. This child is extremely gifted and has been blessed with rare properties that have the potential to bring order back to the galaxy. I see your bond with him. Take him. But you will leave my ship immediately, and we will go our separate ways.
Don't do it. Sheesh.
Looks like a good double cross.
Good hell.
Yeah, baby. Again, very physical. Gotta love it.
You haven't gotten to do a ton of action in your career. How much fun is it to be getting into your, not your later years, but your 50s, and suddenly you get to wield a darksaber and you get to fight people? And
It's really quite amazing to me. I'm always a very physical actor, not only in my vocality and expression, but also in my physicality.
Sure.
I believe that acting is physical. It's part of what we do, and you have to use your whole body, and I teach that when I teach acting. But this role was quite amazing for me to be able to do all of that particular saber fight and all of the fights that I do in Mandalorian are me.
Yeah.
And I feel like a child again. This show was a gift because as we get older, some of us sometimes feel like we don't have the ability to play.
Right.
And to me, acting is playing. It's being a child again. It's being a kid again. And we did everything by the numbers. We counted it, duck, count, swing, because I wanted it to look like a man of age, not a 20-year-old. And I missed once and got him so hard that he came back and he missed and put me on the ground. And he hit me so hard with that Beskar spear that I went backwards and hit the deck. And as I'm going backwards, I'm going, don't cut! And I hit the ground, I jumped back up, and we finished that particular take of the fight to applause because I didn't want them to stop, because what happens is adrenaline takes over.
Yeah.
And you're trying to be careful and not hurt each other, but you have to make it look real. And I think I did. So I returned to my childhood, like to playing King Arthur in the backyard with wooden swords. That's how much fun that was.
You are, in almost every conceivable way, more successful than I am, except for one. I got him. And he's not going anywhere.
Oh, bring me the child.
Yes.
Bring me that child.
Oh, thank you for saying that.
In that scene you just saw of Moff Gideon, you saw a moment in my face where I was totally surrendering, vulnerable, taken. Oh, I understand. I see the bond you have with him, right? I mean, that's a great switch in that scene. You can have him. I get it. I've got what I want from him anyway. And then flips it. It's part of what I like to do because it's bringing humanity back into the characters I play.
Thank you, Alvin. Homelander's a friend. Why would I betray him?
Because you're a ruthless bastard.
This is the restaurant with Butcher.
That's hurtful.
You turned a racist piece of shit into America's sweetheart. What word would you use?
Stormfront's good at making people angry. Angry people want Compound V. Compound V raises our stock price. Look, I'd have preferred V remained a secret, but we play with the cards we're dealt. It's not ruthless. It's prices per share. That's all.
Maybe you should take a look in the mirror, mate. Because that bitch should bother you.
Of course she does. But it's not about I can't lash out like some raging entitled maniac. That's a white man's luxury.
So it's just business then, eh?
When, Mr. Butcher, in history, has it ever been about anything different?
And what makes you think that you can control that racist
Look, I've got to get across town.
Look, I can get the boy away from Homelander, all right?
How?
That's my business. When I got him, I'll call your people. They zero in on this cell signal, then come and scoop him up. And then you do a better job of hiding him this time, yeah?
You have my word. I will get Rebecca and Ryan somewhere safe.
No, not Becca. Becca stays with me.
But that's the whole point. That he's raised by his mother.
Find him a new mum. I'm taking my wife back. That's the deal.
And what happens when Rebecca shows up at my doorstep begging to be reunited with her boy?
You say it's the only way you can guarantee Ryan's protection from Homelander. Because as you know, a mother will do anything to protect her son.
Yes, she will.
And you call me a ruthless bastard.
Oh man, it has to just be so much fun to get handed a script like that and just go, ooh, I get to play.
It really is. Eric Kripke is a genius. And I love this show because I believe that we as human beings we really are superheroes, and we can recognize our superhero qualities about us, but we do have human emotions, and that's our challenge. And I loved a story that portrayed this with these superhero people. And I love playing a guy who's all about business. This is one of my favorite scenes with Billy Butcher, and in a very way he's conniving and making a deal, as I have some favorites also with Homelander. No one stands Homelander down. No one's going to tell him what he needs to hear except for Stan Edgar.
Yeah.
You know, and Stan just tells him straight out, you know, you are not a god. You are simply bad product. You know, it's just an amazing. And then he explains the whole history of the company, which we think is, you know, a superhero company, which Homelander thinks it's all about him, you know, which I like to think it's all about me. So all these analogies really play into my life as well, psychologically. But he says to him clearly, this is a pharmaceutical company. And so to me, that reflects a lot of our society too. So I really, really, really dig this character because he's in no fear of being red-eyed by Homelander. He has to keep the animals in the zoo happy.
Yeah. Oh man, it's such a fun part, and it's always a joy to watch you work. Tell us a little bit about Parrish. I was able to watch a little bit, sneak peek early.
I'm so very proud of this show, Parrish. It's been 8 years of my life in the making. It was taken from a British television show called The Driver. My manager called me and said, would you want to pick this up for you and produce it? I said, certainly would, because it had all these reflections of parts of my life. I've been bankrupt, divorced, kind of a failing to be able to provide for my family, feeling less than enough, you know, considering suicide so that my children and my former wife could go on. And this story of Parrish has some of those elements: a lost child, a man who's not making ends meet, and every man who, as I put it, has to become an extraordinary man by standing up and finding another way.
Yeah.
And finding hope, but finding his own strength. And a man who clearly says, I'm tired of being a passenger in my own life. I was down and out. I counted myself out. And I had to stand up again. I had to figure it out on my own, separated from my family and my children who I loved, and rebuild relationships and rebuild faith in myself and rebuild my self-esteem. And this is who Gracie Parrish is. Shot in New Orleans this year. Very exciting, cutting-edge show that I believe that many people will really relate to. I love that I can be in this relationship with myself, but also in such a deep, respectful relationship with all the characters I play, because that's honoring the playwright's work. That's honoring the writer's intention. Yeah. And to me, intention in life is everything. And when it can be cathartic for me, means I'm tapping into some truth that needs to be tapped into. And for me, that's a gift. And I still look at it that way. And I think that's why I'm still unjaded and still looking at this world of enchantment and joy that I play in. Each and every time I get excited. Each and every time I don't know if I can do it again. Each and every time I'm not trying to recreate something I've done before, but trying to see it anew with fresh eyes as a fresh canvas. And for me, that's the ultimate blessing, is that I'm still so excited about what I do. And to be where I'm at today is freedom. I'm not attached to any particular role. I'm not trying to feed my ego. I'm beyond becoming a star. Like, it's almost like the play of consciousness is the joke that I get to do this. But I know I deserve it, right? You can't leave that out. I deserve it because I honor what's in front of me to bring my best self to it. If I'm in for a penny, I'm in for a pound. And therefore, I want to be a collaborator. It's not just all my ego. And so I feel like the happiest man in the world right now. It's pretty cool.
Well, you've got two very, very happy men here talking to you as well. And I agree, you do deserve it.
Thank you for joining us and for sharing yourself with our audience. You're an extraordinary talent, seriously.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So happy to be with you. Truly, truly, truly.
This has been absolutely wonderful for us. So until next time, you're not a cautious man at all, Mr. White.
A friendly piece of advice. Assume I know everything.
And watch Giancarlo Esposito.
Eventually, probably soon, the world will recognize you for the pitiful disappointment you are. You are not worthy of my respect. You are not a god. You are simply bad product.